Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with an assembly video for one of my die sets. This is die number 1040, the coffee cup pop-up, and you can check out all of my designs at karenburniston.com. This is a cool pop-up card. It's cool even without the gift card, but it does have little slots cut into the back of the cup that will hold that standard size gift card. So often we are giving little coffee gift cards, and this is really the perfect die set to do that. My pop-up die sets always include lots of decorator pieces, so that if you are only using that one set, you have everything you need to make a great card. And in my assembly videos, I like to pretty much stick with the pieces that come with the die set. Now, I did pull out word set 1 to add some greetings to this card, but other than that, I am using only the dies that come in the coffee cup pop-up. Another feature of my pop-up die sets is that you choose your own card size. So for today, I'm going to make an A2 long card, which means 4 1/4 by 11 inches, folded in the middle. And then to that, I will add 2 squares of patterned paper. Each one of those is 4 by 4. And I left just a little gap at the fold between the paper so that they wouldn't bunch up in the fold and that it would open up nicely all the way flat. I've placed the 10 dies that come in the set on this magnet sheet, and I'll start with the one that does the coffee cup. For this piece, go really lightweight with your cardstock. I'm talking 65-pound, 176 GSM, lightweight cardstock, inexpensive from the craft store. Then use your slightly heavier stuff for the decorator pieces. So then I'm going to jump up to just my normal weight cardstock, 80, 100-pound. So let me cut my pop-up coffee cup then with that lightweight cardstock. You can use any die cutting machine that can accommodate a wafer-thin die. I am using a Sizzix Big Shot today. Let's take a look at this piece now. The die has done some scoring. Really easy to see and find those scores. One is the tab on the side, then between the coffee cup and the back of the coffee cup, and then you've got those 2 little tabs at the base, and those would both fold outward. So now later when I put this together, you'll see that coming out the right side of the cup, there will be the gift card, because that's where those clips are cut into the back. If you want to have the gift card coming out the left side of the cup, then you just need to reverse those 2 folds, and that will basically move those clips to the other side. The coffee cup sits on a napkin, and it includes a stencil emboss feature to give ridges on the edges if you are so inclined. And that's one of the reasons that I like to switch to a heavier cardstock for the base. And as a cheater, I will even just add a double-sided adhesive sheet to the back of that cardstock before die cutting. That extra little cushion of the double-sided adhesive will often give me some of that emboss for free. These 6x6 sheets are made by Sizzix, but there are other brands that have double-sided adhesive sheets, or you could even use strips of double-sided tape if you prefer. Now I'll use that cardstock with my napkin die and my lid die. And then I'll cut a second of the napkin pieces because I need 2 of those. Now that die, it's hard to see on the video, but I've got a little emboss going on there just from die cutting with that double-sided adhesive, but I can also use the die as a stencil. So if I wanted to, say, sponge some ink down through that die to really highlight those ridges, I could. I'll set those aside for a moment while I look at this die, which is the sleeve. Now you can just cut this out of a corrugated cardstock. That'd be quick and easy. You would get all of those ridges in the piece. But it's also designed to give you ridges, both with cut lines on one side and an emboss feature in the background, so that if you're just using regular, inexpensive, lightweight craft cardstock, just die cutting alone will give you a little bit of dimension because it will put all of those cuts into the piece, and some of the cardstock will kind of come up through the die and give you a little bit of emboss as well. But let me show you what happens when you also choose to emboss it. That means swapping the sandwich in your machine. With a Sizzix Big Shot, you need the impressions pad and the silicone rubber on tab 1. If you're using another machine, you'll just need to Google what is the sandwich for embossing a wafer-thin die. Now, since I'm embossing my sleeve, I'll go ahead and emboss my napkin as well, and that way you'll get a chance to see what both of those pieces look like if you take that extra step with your embossing sandwich. With the sleeve, you get a lot more corrugation by doing the emboss step. And then I've messed with the contrast on the video here so you can see the difference. The one on the left has gone through the embossing sandwich and you can really see the ridges. The one on the right has only been die cut, but it did have the double-sided adhesive on the back, which did give it a little bit of emboss for free. Completely optional, but something like an antique linen distress ink can work really well for adding just a little bit of color around the outside of that lid so that when you put it onto your coffee cup you get just a slight contrast between the two pieces. And remember, this one has that double-sided adhesive, so adding it's going to be extremely easy since I can just peel off the liner, line it up, it will fit perfectly onto that coffee cup. It's the exact same size. Now, if you know for sure that you're going to add a gift card, this is a great time to get there behind those clips and actually pull them outward just a bit, making it much easier to slide the gift card in later after assembly. These napkin half pieces have a slot in them. So I'll peel back the liner on the adhesive and then get a tab on the bottom of the coffee cup all the way down till you can't see any tab anymore, and then fold that tab over and into the adhesive going towards the ridges. So see, when you look at this from the front, and I'll put my liner back on for now because I'm not ready yet to put it into the card. So let me just put my liner back on. When I look at this from the front, the ridges of the napkin are hanging down below the coffee cup. It'll sit like this. Same thing when I do the other one. If it helps you to hollow out that slot a little bit with a paper piercer, you can do that. It is, if you've used the double-sided adhesive, you do need to get the liner out of the way. Then you're going to put the tab through the napkin until you can't see any tab anymore. And then you're going to press the end of the tab into the adhesive toward the ridges and then put the liner back on. Now see, the ridges are towards the bottom on both halves, but then when it comes around, it will complete that entire napkin. So to complete the assembly of the pop-up coffee cup, I just now need to add some adhesive in that long side tab. I've switched to my fine tip bottle. It's filled with Linecoat neutral pH adhesive. We do sell both of those items on our website. Now if I bring those napkin halves up to the outside into the closed position, it gets them out of the way so that I can attach my tab on the side of the coffee cup. And if you want to maybe use a bone folder or something, make sure you've got a good connection there. So now my coffee cup is complete. It sits on those two napkin halves. When those go into the card, you can see that it will bend the coffee cup into that cool rounded position when the card is open. This pop-up works anywhere along the fold of the card, but you probably want to give some consideration to your gift card if you're planning to use it for a gift card. So in that case, just a standard size gift card put behind the clips in the back of the cup, and you can slide that in a little bit or a lot, whatever you want to do. And then now with that gift card in place, you can check the location of your cup. The more you go to the right, the more you're going to have to slide that gift card in to make sure that the card will hide it. So it works almost anywhere. It's just how much of the gift card you want to show when the card opens. So I will place my cup mostly to the left side of the card. It gives me more room for gift card on the right. I've peeled up the liner on both halves of my napkin, and now I want the straight edge of my napkin half to go right along the fold of the card. And I am basically lining up with my pattern paper instead of my cardstock because remember, my pattern paper has left me just a little gap in the fold, and I would like to keep that gap even in the pop-up on the napkin. That way I have a little room in the fold of my card for all of this to fold down. So you can see I'm stretching the other half of my napkin across the fold, but leaving just a little gap between the pieces. The card itself is your best guide for where the gift card can go. It slides in and it can slide as far back as you need it to go to be hidden by the card. So just close the card and then you can press the gift card in until it's flush with the edge of the card, and then that way you know for sure that it will be hidden. And in one of those, hey, why didn't I do that earlier? I probably should have added my sleeve piece to the cup before I put it in the card. So now I get the added fun of kind of reaching in there and getting it into position to press it into place in the closed position. But as you can see, you can add it afterwards. The coffee stirrer decorator piece has a heart-shaped hole in the top. That heart comes out and you can use it elsewhere if you choose. And now if you leave that as a whole, then whatever color you place it against will become the color of the heart. And that coffee stirrer is also used to make a stopper if you want to at the top of the cup. So if you decide that you don't want to have a hole in it, that's what the smallest decorator circle die is for. It's sized to fit right behind there to change the color of the heart to whatever color you would like. By combining the other pieces in the set, I can make a really cool decoration for the front of the cup, stacking up my circles here. Then there's a die that will cut you 4 coffee beans at one time. Those work wonderfully on the front of the cup and then also kind of on the floor of the card. There's that little positive heart that comes out of the middle of the stirrer. So there you have it, a great little decoration for the front of the cup, and I didn't have to go outside the die set to do it. Just some adhesive up the middle on that piece to attach it to the front of the cup. And the reason for that is that then when the card opens, the cup will bend, but the decoration stays straight, and that adds even more dimension to the card. If you cut off the top of the stirrer stick, it makes a great stopper for the top of the lid. Just glue it in behind the cup. And just watch the height of your card to make sure there's room for it. In an A2 long, you have plenty of room. Okay, for the inside, I glued down the stirrer stick and a few coffee beans. And now for the front of the card, I'm going to do my favorite thing ever, which is just to repeat the design of the inside as a simple lead-in. I trimmed out just the piece of the pop-up that would be the cup, and then just decorated the same as I did with my pop-up, with the exception of using the hello from word set 1 across the front instead of the coffee beans. I'll use foam tape up the middle of my cup and then glue on the sides. And that way, when I put it on the front of the card, I can actually get a little bit of curvature to the cup. A little pop dot under that heart at the top, and then I'll add my stirrer and a few coffee beans. So this is just a great way to use up your scraps and take advantage of a design by just making that simple lead-in for the front of the card. Really ties everything in nicely. Now I used Thinking of You on the inside of the card, and then I created myself a little blank circle set that I could sign. So I wrote, "Let's do coffee," and then sign my name, and then I'll put that then at the top part of the card. If you have a coffee lover in your life, this is a great, great card to send to that person, and it would make great teacher gifts as well. Now, because I chose a standard size card, it'll just mail in an A2 envelope. An excellent add-on is the coffee charms, which I used on the front of this card with the little small cup. And before I go, how about I show you some really fantastic cards made by our very talented design team. Kelly Booth drew inspiration from the colors of the gift card, including making a double-tailed mermaid as an homage to the logo. Fran Sabad also matched the colors of her card to her gift card, and I like her choice to use the sleeve die as a stencil and sponge those lines on. If you are a stamper and you love coffee, then most likely you have some coffee-themed stamps, and Frances Burns shows how great those can coordinate with the coffee cup pop-up. And then another card by Frances using only dies, and I love how she used the small coffee charm cup on the front of the big pop-up cup. And finally, clever Karen Aiken shows a great idea to use the pop-up coffee cup not as a pop-up, but just as a sleeve to hold a gift card. The coffee cup pop-up will start shipping February 2018. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.